Ralph, thank you. That was a bit embarrassing, so I wasn't expecting that. I'm going to take my jacket off since everybody else is casual, if that's okay. I'm going to borrow this chair. I'm reminded when I was at the Republican National Convention when Clint Eastwood brought him into the chair out on stage. We'll just pretend like Lamar's going to sit here. He might learn something. Yeah, maybe not. But I want to do a little bit of housekeeping as well, if I can. First of all, I want to thank Michael Patrick Leahy. A big round of applause for Michael Patrick Leahy. I'm going to get there. It's my time, brother. You just settle down. But Michael has done a great job coordinating the Beat Lamar campaign with all the volunteers. And it's really important because this is an opportunity that Michael understands that we can give it back to you. And that's the only reason I'm standing here, is to give it back to you. This isn't mine. It really isn't. And I'll get to that in a minute because I'll get pretty passionate and I may even get choked up a bit. But that's okay. You're just going to have to bear with me because as you go through this vetting process, and you're going to vet me today, and that's why I'm standing here. As a matter of fact, when Michael Patrick told me last week, earlier this week, wherever we are in the week, he said, Kevin Kukuchi's decided to drop out. And I said, Michael, or he said another thing, I said, Michael, you've got to continue the vetting process. I said, it's that important. He said, I'm a voter too. And the vetting process is that important. And so I said, make sure that Lynn knows that we're coming to Memphis. Okay? And that I'm going to put myself before you guys for however long it takes so you guys understand where I'm coming from. But that's important. And to that point, thank you, Lynn, for stepping up and doing this. It's so important. And, West Tennessee, Memphis is an integral part of the overall strategy for not just Beat Lamar campaign, but for the campaign to elect Joe Carr, United States Senator. And they're intertwined. They really are, because it's a grassroots campaign that's going to win this. And we absolutely have to have everything west of the river. So thank you very much. So I appreciate it. I want to thank Hal Rounds. Now, Hal, you're a constitutional authority. So when you start asking me questions, I want you to be gentle because I'm not an attorney or a constitutional authority. I love the Constitution. Amen. I love the Declaration of Independence. Okay? And I have a particular fondness for the 10th Amendment. But don't put me on display because you're acting and proud.
It is supposed to be vetted.
Well, you can vet me, but if I may defer to your wisdom and your knowledge, if that's okay. And then finally, my good friend Ralph Bristol, and you embarrassed me quite a bit, Ralph. If I'd known you were going to say all those things, I might not have come to Memphis. But, Ralph is, Ralph, the Bible talks about, as iron sharpens iron, man sharpens man. And we shouldn't be afraid of that grinding process that puts an edge for all of us. And so Ralph does that for me. And the reason I prepare like I do is because I know that when you come on Ralph Bristol's show, no quarter is asked for and none is given. Because the issues and the principles and the worldview that most of us, if not all of us, hold very, very dear is too important to be glossed over by a relationship or a friendship. And to be sure, Ralph and I are friends. But what I value most about Ralph Bristol is and you in many respects, and we'll find out more in a few minutes, is the fact that we take seriously enough the deep love that we have for this great country. And I do love the United States of America. And I thank you, Ralph, for being part of that. Real quickly, I'm going to tell you a little something about myself. And then I'm going to get on. Where's my timekeeper? There he is, Dave. I'm 55 years old. I've been married to the same, I got to pause. With me today is my daughter, Maddie Carr, right over here. She helps me with operations and scheduling, and back in the back is Hillary Pate, who's my director of communications. So, boy, they're going to chastise me going back. Thank you, ladies. I am 55 years old. I've been married over 30 years to the same woman. I have 3 lovely children, Aaron 30, Maddie 27, and Joe Jr. 13. My wife is with my son in Knoxville today, this weekend, at a soccer tournament. So we've kind of gone in different directions across the state. I'm a business owner. I've owned 2 engineering companies since 1990. I'm a state representative from the 48th Legislative District in Tennessee, which is the eastern half of Rutherford County. I'm a farmer. I have a small farm of 95 acres. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a member of Believers Chapel, which is a non-denominational church in Rutherford County. I'm a grandfather of Colby, who's 2 years old. I've never been arrested. You need to know? You need to know. We don't need to go further in the vetting process unless you are willing to ask the tough questions. Because the reason I'm in this, okay, and please do not misunderstand me here. If I don't say anything more important today, it's this right here. The reason I'm in this is because I'm a voter too. And I'm not irritated. I'm not frustrated. I am really, really angry. I'm angry because the men and women I elected who told me they represented my values and my principles and looked through the same worldview that I did, went to Washington and did something entirely different. And I feel betrayed. And I don't know why they do that. But I think it's important to note that there are men and women in Washington who do not do that. And what Tennessee needs somebody to stand with those men and women. Tennessee needs somebody in the United States Senate who will stand with Ted Cruz, or who will stand with Mike Lee, or who will stand with Tim Scott, or who will stand with Rand Paul. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why I'm doing this. And it's that important. Because in the last line of the Declaration of Independence, Al knows what this is. How we probably got the Declaration memorized. But in the does anybody know what the last line of the Declaration of Independence is? My life, my fortune, and my sacred honor. Why don't we talk like that anymore? Now, if we got 56 men who signed the Declaration of Independence who within a year lost their lives, we can't even muster up to keep our word. And so what I'm promising you today is I'm going to, if I'm honored to be your candidate after 30 days, and if I'm honored to be the United States Senator come this time next year, you won't have to worry about keeping my word because you will know what my principles and my worldview are. And if I have to stand alone up there, then I will. Just as I have in Nashville, I will stand alone in Washington. Because every night, I have to look at myself in the mirror, just like you do. And I'm dead serious about that. I'm not afraid of standing alone. In Ephesians chapter 6, it says, after having done everything to stand, then stand firm. And that's what our founding fathers did. When King George III said, I'm going to take everything from you, everything. You know what they said in response? Our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. Surely we can give our word. And that's what I'm giving you today. It's not enough to beat Lamar. Okay? We got to replace Lamar with something. But I want to go through I want to give you a little bit of background about how bad it really is. Lamar has voted for raising payroll taxes. Lamar has voted raising for dividend taxes. Lamar has voted for raising fuel taxes. Lamar has raised for voting estate taxes. If there's a tax out there, Lamar has voted for it.
Internet taxes.
He's voted for the internet tax. Thank you. There are several he's voted for. Lamar has voted to kill the coal industry. Lamar's energy policy is to kill the coal industry and then vote to subsidize with your tax dollars Solyndra.
Yeah.
Lamar Alexander was one of 2 Republican votes in the United States Senate to kill the coal industry. Lamar Alexander voted to, I'm not assuring his logic. The Second Amendment says quite clearly that your right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. That's a right, okay? And yet Lamar believes he should have voted so we could debate that right. Lamar Alexander has voted, he says, 23 times to kill Obamacare, or voted against Obamacare. Yet we're asking him for one vote to line up with Ted Cruz, Tim Scott, and Mike Lee to defund it, and he says no. And if that weren't enough, now we have the whole situation in Syria, which is before us. And now Lamar is ominously silent, saying he's going to take a leadership role. Well, there's nothing in leadership that says you ought to be quiet. And that's Lamar's problem. Lamar is too many times taking a political stance or a political role, when as a matter of fact, if he would come out and support bombing Syria back in the Stone Age, like McCain and Graham and Corker, that's fine. But come out and say it. But he's not saying a word about it. And the reason is Lamar's in an election year. And he knows he's vulnerable now. So now he's got his finger up in the air. The idea that we should bomb Syria, I'm opposed to it, just so you know, because Syria has not defined, the problem in Syria is not defined as a credible security threat to the United States, which would require a preemptive military act. I'm sorry, it's not. Moreover, to presume that either we strike Syria with 200 cruise missiles or we do nothing is a false choice. And it's a false choice given to us by this president, being adopted by the leadership in the Senate and now the House. And there are many other ways to influence foreign policy than to send 200 cruise missiles to a sovereign country, which is in effect an act of war. Because here's the rhetorical question that you've never heard. And by the way, isn't it ironic, isn't it sad that on the anniversary date of 9/11, 12 years to the day on Wednesday, the Senate's going to take up a vote to attack a sovereign country that literally gives aid and comfort to the very terrorists that attacked this country 12 years ago. That is not sad. That's not tragic. That is cruel to those families. And it just shows you how insensitive those men and women up on Capitol Hill are right now. Well, I'm here today to not just outline why Lamar needs to go. The fact that he votes with President Barack Hussein Obama 62% of the time, in my mind, means he's voting against us 62% of the time. I'm not just here to outline the fact that Lamar's conservative voting record with Heritage Foundation is 41%. Democrat Congressman Jim Cooper out of Nashville is more conservative than Lamar Alexander. Lamar Alexander is the third most liberal Republican senator in all of the United States Senate. Lamar Alexander refuses to defund Obamacare. Let me tell you something. Lamar Alexander is no conservative. I don't care what definition you use. He's not been a conservative in 12 years, and he's not a conservative now. What we need is somebody in Washington standing with men like Ted Cruz and Mike Lee who understand what personal responsibility, individual liberty, and free markets are, with the goal of returning the sovereignty of the states and the authority back to the states, defined in the 10th Amendment, back to the states. I'm running for United States Senator to do just that. And so having said all that, those are my opening remarks.